zoomed out on a weekly Bitcoin chart. This is like our roadmap for crypto, whether you hold Bitcoin or not. I say that all the time. And I can't help but wonder when I look at this chart, I just can't help but be curious of this one thing. When we look at this and we look at Bitcoin currently looking like, man, it's already tested all-time highs. I don't know. It's just been consolidating. It's actually down. How many people right now are leaving crypto because of kind of the fear in the market? And how bad of timing that could potentially be. This is the fear and greed index. You can see it's 25. Surely if this fear is so high right now, there are people that are just like, I'm done. This is looking like, that was it. Bitcoin's done. Crypto's done. And I want to discuss this in this video and explain from a charting perspective, other perspectives, why this might be a mistake. I don't know. Nobody knows what's going to happen next for sure. But this might be a mistake following the fear and greed index. And if there is fear, it usually is a good idea to kind of be in an opposite state of mind. This right here is a phenomenal indicator at this stage of the cycle. I just want to say that. But hit the subscribe, hit the like. We're going to talk about all these things. I'm even going to dig into the daily chart. And wanted to go over something happening on the moving averages that I found really interesting that we really haven't seen in previous cycles. So let me start here. I want to pose a question to everybody watching, whether you're on the fence, if you're bullish or bearish. But let me just ask you a question. Right now, if you see Bitcoin, this yellow line, Bitcoin is like just over 100 days after the Bitcoin halving. That's what that yellow line is going up and down the screen. If we go back to last cycle, Bitcoin around this moment, if we look at this, around this moment, Bitcoin was down from its previous bull cycle all-time high. It was down around 40%. Right now, Bitcoin from all-time high last cycle is down 11%. Even 2 cycles ago, if you look at Bitcoin from all-time high to around this moment, post-2016 Bitcoin halving, Bitcoin was down around 40%. That was 2 cycles ago at this moment. Again, we're down around 11%. Even if you go all the way back here, 2012 halving, and we look at Bitcoin around this time, Bitcoin was just about to test all-time highs. Bitcoin is in such a consistent trajectory right now. This cycle around, Bitcoin actually for the first time broke all-time highs before the Bitcoin halving. Bitcoin is on a trajectory, and I want to go over a few things, then we're going to kind of dive into the charts and talk about some of the price action. I saw this post. I just like it because it's a really good visualization. And we kind of just discussed it every single time. Bitcoin. And what he's just charting is this. Here's 2022 to 2025. You see the bear cycle. You see the bull run, part 1. And you can kind of just see just this trend of higher highs and higher lows. And Bitcoin is kind of in this higher low environment right now. And he has 2014 to 2017. Bear run on the left and a bull run. You can see the similarities. And in these moments, if you look at this, and we can go to look at a Bitcoin chart to get an illustration of this, but in these moments, let's just go back to 2017. Do you think there was just some type of crazy fear when Bitcoin's doing this? Look at this fall right here. And then this fall right here after testing all-time highs. Bitcoin down around, in this move of 2 weeks, 34%. Bitcoin down in a few weeks from right here, around 30%. Fear. These are higher highs and higher lows. This is the story of higher highs and higher lows. We go to the chart now and you zoom out and you're like, wow, this doesn't even look anything like that. This doesn't even actually look even as bad. This is some nice sideways consolidation after having a pretty accelerated exit of the bull market. Something like we've never seen. Again, breaking all-time highs before the Bitcoin halving. That's crazy. So I wanted to put up that illustration as kind of a macro reminder, I think, for me, and to share with you. Here's another one, and this is what's actually happening, and this is partly why I can't help but wonder: is retail getting kind of scared out of the markets, not just Bitcoin, but crypto in general, at a really bad time? Bitcoin supply reserve in all exchanges continues to decline and is now at its lowest level since 2018. A significant decrease in supply has been observed since the beginning of this year. This means that institutions are accumulating Bitcoin, likely because they have a strong sense of where the market is headed next. So keep that in mind, paired with this. Bitcoin's year-to-date net flows hit an all-time high of $19.3 billion. And just look at this. We have a whole new season of institutional demand coming on board. And these two posts alone kind of help sum that up a little bit. And there's so much more data about this. But this is just my point. This is happening. Big money is accumulating Bitcoin. And if this is the case, in an environment where there's extreme fear and there's likely retail kind of getting, thrown in the towel, they're done. This is too risky. Maybe I'll wait until we approach all-time highs again to get back in. I don't know. But it seems like institutions and big money know what's up. Zoomed out on this chart in the long term. They know what's up. And there seems to be a transfer of Bitcoin, transfer of crypto. And so that's why I'm saying I can't help but wonder, is this really bad timing? Is Bitcoin and crypto getting ready to do what it's done in every previous cycle? And I say this all the time. There's absolutely no guarantees that is going to happen. But if we look at this chart, I mean, we're at least in this, we're at least in the same exact trajectory, on the same trajectory that we've been in previous cycles. Look at this wick off the 50-week moving average. I just want to point that out. But I want to go to the daily and talk about some short-term price action, because this is kind of interesting to me, and it's something I'm watching on the short term. So here's the deal. I noticed right now this 20-day and the 50-day actually just headed towards the 200-day. So there's the 200 in red. So we have the 20 in green, the 50 in blue. Look at this. They're basically about to cross below this 200-day moving average. And I was like, man, this is an interesting move for post Bitcoin halving that just happened. And the reason I'm saying that is because if we zoom out on previous cycles, right? Really, when I was looking back, most of the time when this type of thing happened, these moving averages crossing the 200, is kind of the entry of a bear market. Here's the 50, here's the 20 crossing the 200. We go to the previous cycle before that, and we have, here's the 50 and the 20 crossing the 200. Now, I want to say, exiting the bear market of the last bear cycle, we had it. But this was kind of going into that higher low COVID dip before the Bitcoin halving. And then if we go to previous cycles, if we notice, after the Bitcoin halving, this was not happening. The 20 and the 50 is exactly where we want to see it, up here. Higher highs and higher lows extended above the 200, right? So I was kind of like, man, is this bearish, right? And then I noticed, two things. Number one, last cycle, this happened, right? The 50, the 20, below the 200. It's a nice reflection on the daily of what happened on the weekly. And that is to say, this move, the 20-week getting very close to the 50, actually didn't cross the 50, right? But getting very close and approaching that 50. Well, look what we're getting now. We're getting 20-week moving average on the weekly, not even close to approaching the 50 in the sense that it did last cycle right here, right? Before just one more move to the upside and then the bear market. So I don't think we're in this vicinity of previous cycles where we're getting a 20-week crossing the 50. Oh man, this is it. This is terrible. This is the beginning of the bear market. We're in this macro consolidation right now. And I think what we could maybe liken this move to, because this is the other thing that I noticed with it, we can liken this 20-day, the 50, just, oh man, it's falling towards the 200. We can liken it to something like this, because this happened prior to the Bitcoin halving. And you can see the 20 moving average, the 50 moving average crossing below the 200. Was this a sign that, man, this is it, it's game over? No. But this was a very strong consolidation of the moving averages. It was necessary. You can just see how they just start getting tangled within each other. And this could be something that we're seeing right now. But let's define that for what it is. And it kind of goes back to the post that we started with, right? This trend of higher highs and higher lows. We can define it at least as of right now, for what it is, a higher low, right? And in a higher low, we see consolidation of moving averages. We can see a 50 and a 20 cross below the 200. So at that moment, you can actually see the 20 cross below, the 50 cross below, and at that moment, it's looking, man, this is not looking good, right? Right here in September. Guess what? At that moment, not looking good. That was the bottom, and Bitcoin went higher. I'm not saying that's exactly how this is going to play out once again, but when we look at where we are in this part of the cycle, just after the Bitcoin halving, when we look at the demand for crypto and Bitcoin, when we look at the timing of previous cycles at this moment, and even when we look at things like, we can look at an RSI in the short term for short-term price action hints, Bitcoin could actually be very, very close to finally making its next leg up because of these indicators and these moving averages. So I saw that, and I just wanted to talk about it because I did notice that it's not something that has happened every cycle, but we're getting a great consolidation right now for sure. There's obviously no doubt about that. We're talking about, 150 days now of kind of just sideways and down. And I continue to just think that the reason that's happening is because what happened here. Extreme velocity exiting the bear and breaking all-time high for the first time before Bitcoin halving. This is necessary. This consolidation is necessary. Right now, we're in a higher low. Bitcoin, if we look at the weekly, it could fall lower. It could test the 50-week moving average at $50,000 again and still be putting in a higher low. So I'm going to continue tracking these charts, everybody. I wanted to kind of bring it all together as we start this new week. Nothing crazy happening on the short term with price action, but we'll continue to monitor as we do look for a bounce for Bitcoin. And right now, I want to end with this. I should have had it on the chart just for visualization. We have this channel that Bitcoin's still in, kind of hanging out in the middle of it, below the moving averages. So as always, we do want to see Bitcoin get above these moving averages as soon as possible. But again, we're in a pattern, and there's no guarantees that Bitcoin doesn't start trickling back down again. We've talked about that if there's going to be resistance here at the moving averages. So these are my thoughts today. Hit the subscribe, hit the like if you enjoyed this video. I appreciate you cruising through. I hope you have a good start to your week. I'll see you in the next video. God bless.